Is cold calling your biggest hindrance for taking up that sales job? Cold calling, it's either you love it or you hate it. Any salesperson could agree that it's the most intimidating, nerve-wracking, toughest part of telesales. And for today's topic, I want to share with you my own take of cold calling tips for 2025. Times are changing, and so as salespeople should adapt to the change and come up with a new way of approach to cold calling. So if you're cold calling, this video is for you. Let's get into it. I'm excited to share with you my few tips in order for you to be successful, enjoy, and be effective on your cold calling. Tip number 1, AIDA. Have you actually heard of that formula? AIDA. Attention, interest, desire, and action. Attention means you need to come up with a very engaging opening. Opening meaning your introduction. It has to be engaging. It doesn't have, back in the days they would say, oh, you have to have a strong, a powerful, a commanding opening. No, I don't believe that that's how it works in 2025. With the technology and the AI and the access to all the information you're cold calling your client for, they're all readily available online. I don't personally think that telemarketing or telesales will go away. I don't think so. Even with the influence of AI, I do believe that there would still be a need for human connection, and cold calling is one of which. So, AIDA. First, you need to grab their attention. And by grabbing their attention, you need to have or use an engaging opening. Why engaging? Why not strong? Why not be powerful? Because you want the client to be part of your cold calling. You want him to be engaged in the cold calling. You want him to bring himself into the cold calling. Typical engaging questions, but never ask open-ended questions. Open-ended questions that are answerable by yes or no. You don't want to use that. That's not engaging questions. Those are questions that you can use when you're probing, but not when you're engaging. So, AIDA. What's the I? I stands for interest. The way to grab your client's attention on cold calling, keep in mind both of you are completely strangers to one another. The way for you to grab their attention is by their interest. They need to be interested. Let's start with you. They need to be interested to speak to you. They need to be interested with how you sound on the phone. They need to be interested with your personality that shines through the other end of the call. When you're cold calling, your personality on the phone is through your voice. And this is really very important because a lot of times telemarketers fall into the habit of I'm just reading the script, I'm just presenting the benefits, or I'm just asking questions. But how do you attract someone that you've just met if you are extremely predictable or regular or boring. Just keep in mind that the people you're cold calling to have not heard from you, does not know you, and vice versa. So grabbing their interest is coming from how the telemarketer sounds, how confident you sound, how clear do you talk, how concise you speak. At the same time, what adds to the interest or what adds to building the interest of your client is really the telesales or the telemarketer being able to present the brand he or she is calling from. I'll give you a simple scenario. This is a simple cold calling script. Hi, good afternoon. Is that Mr. Smith? Hi, Mr. Smith. Hi there. My name is Majoy. I'm calling from SAP. How are you today, sir? Very good. That's the opening. There's nothing so extra or special about that. But the tone I was using is just enough for him to be interested. Who is this person calling me? If I change my tone, if I change the way I speak, it would definitely influence the level of interest of my client, whether he will continue with my call or he will hang up. So when you introduce the company you're calling from, you want to make sure that you also have a good and engaging introduction about your company or about the organization you're calling from. And if you're representing a brand, a big brand, that is already a big advantage because you know already that it's already selling itself by the brand name itself. So when you're cold calling and you give that tone, you give that confidence, or you use that tone and you sound as confident as I have just shown you, then you introduce next your company or the brand and the purpose of your call. Mr. Smith, the reason for calling you today is because you appeared on our exclusive VIP list where we would like to invite you to visit one of our property for a one-on-one tour in order for you to experience our very exclusive property tour. And this will be for this coming Saturday. And you are on the top 20 list. Something like that. I'm just from the top of my head, I just came up with something that would use that very interesting and engaging introduction. So not only that you want to grab their interest by sharing what company or what brand are you calling them for or what company you're calling them from, but at the same time, the purpose of the call. So when you're doing cold calling, there's your voice, there's your tone, there's the brand, but there's also being clear at the very, very beginning, at the very first few seconds. Be clear with the purpose of your call. Why? Let me tell you why. We all receive cold calls. I still do to this day. If the telemarketer is not able to grab my interest by making it very clear to me at the very first few seconds of the call, but by making it very clear to me and understanding, why are you calling me? Before I would even ask the telemarketer, what is this call about? Have you ever experienced that when you, as a receiver of the call, have to ask the telemarketer, why are you calling me? What is the purpose of the call? I've experienced that many times. And you know why? Because the telemarketer spent so much time saying a lot of things that are not grabbing my interest that I have to find myself out. I need to ask the question, Why would I be interested to talk to you? What is it? What is this about? And when that happens, you're already losing the opportunity to build the interest of your client. Very interesting point, isn't it? So, the tone, the volume of how you speak, the words that you use, the brand, introducing what company you're calling from to build the trust is very, very important. This creates the trust element to your client. Now, after you build that, then of course you're going to make sure that you explain the purpose of the call. Now, AI, we already parked that on the side. Now it's D. D as in, any guess? Desire. What is desire? You want the person that you're calling to desire, to prolong, to want to continue speaking to you, to continue staying on the line with you. We know we cannot force the client if they hang up. We also know we cannot force them if they say, I gotta go. But there's no forcing. There's only strategy. If you're a good salesperson, you don't force. You strategize. And this is what this video is about. AIDA. This is the formula for an epic success on cold calling in 2025. So, desire. How do I build the desire? Now that I got him on the phone, now that he's interested to know about why I'm calling him, this is you already elaborating the benefits that are awaiting for him, or the benefits that he is entitled to receive, as long as he stayed on the line, as long as he continued listening to your presentation. So this is the D part, guys, is basically, this is the whole body of your presentation. This is the product knowledge. This is the part where you are presenting the benefits for him. And always, my biggest tip as a salesperson who came from telesales as a background, make it always about your client. It's about you, Mr. Smith. It's your benefit. It's for your benefit. Rather than making it sound like it's for you. It's for your sale. It's for your target. It's for your commission. They know that already. The people that we call, they know that salespeople are driven because from the sale that they give you, you get commission. And that's absolutely fine. We have to do what we have to do. Everyone has a job to do. So, desire, this is the part where you showcase your skill to present the benefits. My advice on this area is don't overdo it, but at the same time, don't shortcut your presentation of benefits. That's why a script is very, very important. You need to have a very good sales script. I'm not saying a script loosely. I'm saying you must have a very good sales script. When you have a very good sales script and you have a very good sales skill and you have a great personality, you will succeed in sales. Because let's face it, people will buy to someone they like. That's just the way it is. Unless you will buy from someone you dislike, I don't know. But personally, I usually have that human nature, that human reaction of, okay, he's pleasant or she's likable. For whatever reason, I just like her, so I will buy from her. Of course, they must like the product, but It's a factor. It's an element of decision making, or that plays in the decision making of your client. So desire. Make your product knowledge desirable. Don't make it plain. Don't shortcut. Don't make it sound so easy. And picture paint. Always picture paint when you're cold calling. You know why? They're a new client. It's whether you're selling a property, whether you're selling insurance plan, whether you're selling a car, you're selling a hotel membership. When you're presenting the benefits, you need to picture paint. Use the word imagine. Imagine using this car. Imagine using this insurance plan. Imagine dining in one of our restaurants. You be creative. This is the best part of your presentation. You know why it's the best part? Because you pass the A and the I, which are the toughest block out of the AIDA. You made it already to the part where he's sitting down and say, okay, what do you have to say? Remember, the very beginning of the call was more like, okay, yes, you're like almost, you can't move, you can barely move because you're so nervous that the client will just hang up. Because it's a cold call. That's what cold calling is about. That's what makes cold calling so tough. But if you do two things, it's a numbers game, you just keep going. Keep going, hang up on you, rejected on you, put the phone down, keep going. Because at the end of your 8-hour shift of calling, maybe 10 to some, you will find a few who could spare you time, provided you grab their attention, you build their interest, you create their desire. And now we're going to the last part, which is A. A as in action. What is action? Action is closing. This is the part where you just want to get his final decision right there and then, right here, right now. So if you can see the flow there, again, AIDA, remember that formula. Write it on the small post-it. Post it in front of your, or in front of you, on your desk, or in front of your computer, so that you're always reminded of today's video. So A, finally, as in action, it's the closing part. I will make a separate video particularly only on closing. I want to spend one video sharing with you my knowledge, my experience, my first-hand experience, my first-hand knowledge on closing sales. I'll talk about the mistakes on closing sales, the success on closing sales. But for this video, as I close the AIDA, A is action. When you're closing a sale, is the most critical part. Because imagine the amount of work you put in on AID. Imagine how much sales skill you've used, or how much communication skill you've used to keep the client engaged on the call. Cold calling, okay? Engaging a stranger the first time you spoke to him or her on that call. So you're closing for cold calling, okay? There's different closing. When you're when you're closing an old customer, there's a familiarity to it, right? Because you've done business before, there's a trust element, there's been payment last year. The client would not anymore suspect if you're a fraud or a scammer, right? Given that there's a lot of scammers going around online and on the phone. So cold calling and closing a cold call is 10 times challenging than a normal closing to a regular client or to an old client. So what do you do? What is my advice to you on that? Number one, never ever ask open-ended question. Don't ask questions like, so are you interested? So do you want to buy the product? So do you want to buy today? Don't ask that. Any questions that is answerable by a yes or a no, don't ask that on your cold call closing. Another tip when you're closing a cold call, just relax. Don't be so jumpy. Don't get too excited. I know closing is the most exciting part because you can somehow feel the entire call if the client is most likely to buy or not to buy. Right? We have that instinct from the tone that they give back to us, from the keywords that they say to us, from them revealing their needs and their interests and practically saying to you things like, yeah, I like it. I like it. That's good. That's good. These are affirmation that he is most likely to buy at the end of the call. But the biggest block or the biggest hindrance when you're closing a cold call is the trust factor. I have lost so many cold calls in my life where the buildup was so good. The AID buildup is really good and engaging. And the client, I can sense the client will buy. I know he will buy. But at the end of my closing, he would say, look, Majoy, I really hope you don't mind. I like the product. I think it's a great product. And thanks for explaining to me everything. But I just don't transact over the phone. Happens all the time with cold calling. So what is my tip for you for 2025? Use the technology to help you build that trust. Technologies such as websites, such as sending you email as we speak, such as a screenshot of the synopsis of what I have presented to you just now. Anything they could hold on to. Payments, you can give them options of payment that are secured and can be done online directly and all that. So I have to say it's much challenging back in the day when there's no technology for people cold calling because we didn't have the technology to help us ease the trust of the client. But of course, we cannot deny the fact that even if we have that ease nowadays with the technology and with the all the online access, there's also a lot of scammers. So the way to do that is to really make sure that you're using whatever tools you have in your product, in your company, with your boss, however you can actually secure the trust of your client. It could mean you will go to his office directly to confirm the contract. It could mean you can email the contract and then once signed, you will have your courier to collect. I don't know, whatever arrangement you could have in order to fix that trust issue with cold calling. So I hope that today's topic was useful for you. I figured it's 2025. The whole theme of my channel from this month of October until end of December are the tips and tricks and techniques for 2025. It's time to get ready. And in closing, I just want to say, if you want to be sharp in 2025 with your sales skills, with your techniques, with your confidence, with your passion, you got to start now. You can't start January 3 when you're back to work and you're thinking, okay, I need to train for 2025. Now is the time to train. So train with me. My channel is packed with videos that are training you, teaching you the basics, the fundamental. Some are advanced techniques. Some you've heard, some you've never heard before. But my training is based on my personal experience, my wealth of knowledge, my personal perspective as a salesperson for 2.5 decades. Let's train more for 2025. I'll see you guys. It's the weekend. Have a nice day. Bye.